The ambush was like that too. You'd see flashes of light. They weren't very far away from us. Did I see a bunch of dudes, silhouetted? No. But you'd shoot that light and it would no longer be there anymore. You just work yourself through it. And then you're guiding. I was guiding a Ranger 50 cal gunner. I was guiding him with targets.
Welcome to Combat Story. I'm Ryan Fugit, and I served Warzone tours as an Army attack helicopter pilot and CIA officer over a 15-year career. I'm fascinated by the experiences of the elite in combat. On this show, I interview some of the best to understand what combat felt like on their front lines. This is Combat Story. Today we hear a combat story from the very tip of the spear. From Dutch Chris Moyer, a longtime special operator who spent 14 years in 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment Delta, or the unit, in addition to years at 175 Ranger Battalion and the CIA's Global Response Staff, or GRS. Dutch walks us through a very open and honest approach to what it's like operating in the elite ranks for so long, to include the pressure, brotherhood, and chaos. He doesn't shy away from where he fell short, and how, even after decades of service, he still felt like he had more to give. He saw combat in multiple theaters in the pre- and post-9/11 era, fighting at the same time as and friends with many of the former Tier 1 operators we've heard on this show. Be sure to stick through to the end, where we hear Dutch describe his own Mr. Goodbar story. If you don't know about Mr. Goodbar, check out episode 30. In this case, Dutch ends up in a room one-on-one having to fight none other than John Shrek McPhee from episode 25, and it is hilarious. Dutch now runs DCM Consulting, where he teaches military, government, and civilians how to apply the skills he learned in the Tier 1 community, from shooting to CQB to leadership. In fact, when I reached out to Dutch, I had to leave him a message, and his voicemail was one of the best I've ever heard, and said something like, "You've reached Dutch, I can't take your call because I'm out at the range shooting, teaching CQB, or doing some other cool shit right now." Anyway, I hope you enjoy this incredible peek behind the curtain of what it's like to operate at the elite level in our military as much as I did. Dutch, thanks for taking the time to share your story with us.
Ryan, thanks so much for even having me, man. This is it's super cool. It's an outlet. It's cathartic. Thanks for having me
for
on.
Sure. And I think it's appropriate given the lifestyle you have now and where you came from. Could you tell people where you're at and why you're there? You're on the road a lot. It's not easy to pin you down.
This is our first, I say hour, because I have 2 young men working for me as well, but this is DCM's first calendar year that we did a training calendar. And it's already morphed and changed, of course, as training calendars do, but this is our first full year of just sitting down and saying, okay, January, February, March, April, May, we're going to do these classes. That was our, the intention. And I'll tell you, in the beginning, like January, nobody came. February, nobody came. March, nobody came. We had a class schedule here, had to cancel it. Class schedule there, had to cancel it. So we're getting more exposure. We're getting more work done. I am currently in Indiana, close to Terre Haute, Indiana. I just came from, I was in Louisville, Kentucky. We did the Kentucky TOA, the Tactical Officers Association. That was like a 4-day event. Monday, I gave a speech on resilience. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday was a abbreviated version of the evolutionary gunfighter series of classes that I offer. And we focus on pistol rifle and a tactical, mindset. And about 30 officers, 3 days, really a lot of fun. I'll have a private class this week, and then I have 3 days of pistol rifle and close quarter battle with law enforcement. So
awesome.
That's what I'm doing now.
Just constantly on the road training people, it sounds like.
Much to the dismay of people who want me to stay at home.
I'm sure. Yeah, and as if the time that you spent in uniform wasn't enough time away. But I'm sure we'll get to it.
I tried to fix it. I actually tried something else, and it didn't work. So I'm back to...
What do you mean you tried something else?
So in 12 or so, or 11 or 12, when I was seeing the end, I got out in 13. And I got great advice by another operator who said, hey, make yourself an LLC, because you're going to do contracting work, or you're maybe going to open a business. You're going to want that. So I said, Roger that, I'll do that. So I went to LegalZoom and, I got an LLC. And what I wanted to do was build off-road vehicles. I wanted to race off-road vehicles. I wanted to test off-road vehicles. So DCM Off-Road was born. And I tell people all the time, if you want to make 2 million, if you want to make $1 million in that industry, you got to start off with 2 million, because all I did was lose money. You know, I bought a 2010 Ford Raptor and I poured $150,000 into it, and basically became like a chase truck. If I wanted to do any kind of high speed racing, like the High Desert Racing Association or the Score Racing, I would have to travel to Vegas, and I would have to travel to Arizona, and I would have to travel to northern Texas. And from North Carolina, that's a logistical feat, and it costs money. And then when you do run the truck, you break it, and then you got to fix it, and that costs money. And so, yeah, it was a good adventure. But in the end, I went back to my strengths, and I took an offer I couldn't refuse, and I joined the agency. So that's how it worked from there.
Got it. Okay. So is it fair to say that when you were younger, were you into cars and racing and that sort of thing?
I loved cars and racing, motorcycles. And I loved the military. I knew ever since I was a little kid, I knew exactly what I was going to do. And I was going to be a tanker. I was going to join the Army. I was going to drive a tank. I was going to command a tank. You know, I did my term papers on Erwin Rommel and George Patton and Blitzkrieg and stuff like that. So, yeah, and I did that. And I realized that the Army of the 80s was pretty shitty. And I quit pretty much right away. I did my 4 years and I quit. But I missed it so much, I had to come back in.
Jeez. So what was it that made you want to be in the military? Like when you say it was from a young age, what did you see something on TV? Were you reading a book? Parents? Where'd that come from?
So probably yes to all three of those and more. I told a friend of mine down in Florida, Mickey Pittman, I said, you know, watching Vic Morrow in the combat series. I don't know if you ever saw those.
I did not.
The whole black and white series of U.S. soldiers against the Germans. It was called Combat. And then watching, you know, my dad would finish work or whatever and park himself on the chair and look through the TV guide and pick a movie. But a lot of times there were war movies, and I'd watch them. My parents are still together, 87 and 85.
Wow.
And they were, you know, good Americans. My mom's a great patriot. She's like one of my biggest cheerleaders of all time. And so that's got something to do with it for sure. And I tell you, as I got older too, gratitude. Just wanting to be able to give back to all the men who came before us. I studied the Civil War, and I love to study World War II. I'm a little off on World War I and Korea, but Vietnam was a big thing. I studied a lot of Vietnam stuff and the Rangers and SF and the SOG. You know, I wanted to do all that, McPhee, SOG, and all that stuff.
Where did you end up growing up?
I was born in California, in LA County, actually. And my dad was very thankful that they moved out of LA County before it got even worse than it was. And they settled back in Western PA. Mom and dad were both from Central PA. We settled in Western PA. My father finished out his retirement working for Georgia Pacific Lumber. And we had three boys. And I was the middle. And all my formative years are in Western PA, you know, so cows, corn, Steeler country, Pittsburgh Penguins, the Penn State University or Pitt, whatever, stuff like that. It was a great football area. You know, there's a lot of great football players come from Western PA. And it's a hardworking blue collar type of mindset. And we lived in suburbia. I think the house cost $15,000 when we moved in. I just went back there for my mother's 85th birthday and was able to look at the house again where I grew up, and not a whole lot's changed, you know, a couple of trees here and there, but it's all the same. Pretty bizarre.
Did you grow up shooting at all? Or was the Army the first time you ended up having a weapon in your hand?
My dad had a 22 caliber long rifle, bolt action, magazine fed gun. And he had some other guns too. He had like a Navy Colt 44 from back in the day.
Cool.
But we never really did a lot of that. My father was not a hunter. We didn't hunt, although a lot of kids in school in Pennsylvania trapped and hunted. I didn't do any of that, just because my dad wasn't his thing. And pretty much the Army, was where I first started shooting. And, my first ever issued pistol, because I was in the tank corps, my first, or armor, or as an armor crewman, my first issued pistol was a 45 caliber 1911. And alongside that, you're right, the main weapon in the driver's seat was M3A1 45 caliber grease gun. So, which was funny because, of course, when I made my journey back to SOCOM, JSOC, if you will, as an operator, first gun, 1911. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm coming back. I'm full circle. Yeah. Oh, yeah, man, 1911s, man. Well, I remember we did a class, we had grease guns. I'm like, oh, I know all about that stupid thing. So it was kind of funny, I did everything late in life. I did the Army real quick and I got out, and everything else. Apparently I matured late. All the successful things I did was just late. But I joined the Army. I was a Ranger. I was older. Operator. I was older than my OTC instructor. So yeah, I did things incorrectly, but it all worked out in the end, I guess.
Were you a naturally gifted shooter? I mean, I know from the units you've been at, you have spent a lot of time with firearms, and even today, like you're talking about moving from one place to the next, teaching CQB and shooting drills. Was it natural for you, or you learned along the way?
No, I don't think it was ever natural. I don't think, we were talking about that. Me and another KSP officer were talking about how some people just surprise you, and all of a sudden they're just out of the box really good. I think I was out of the box okay. I remember, when I was in between the Army times, I bought some pistols. I bought a 4506 Smith. I bought a 6906. I bought some other stuff. I experimented with some strange pistols. I was a member of the Harmony Gun Club, and they would shoot bowling pins off the tables. And they were some bizarre guns back then. Guys would bring 44 caliber contenders, with an 8-inch barrel. I think the company's name was Ordnance Technology. It was a 30-30 10-inch pistol. It was a breech-loaded single shot weapon, had a big heavy barrel on it. And that was like, I think this is powerful enough to knock these bowling pins off of here with one shot. That's what I figured. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, I don't think I was gifted. But when I got to the Ranger Battalion and guys started shooting pistol, I was way better than those cats. But then, when you go to college to pro, for instance, and it was funny because me and another guy were just talking about that. You at high school, you might be the best player in high school, but you go to college and you're not so good anymore because now you used to be a big fish and now you're a small fish in the little pond. And then, of course, you graduate to NFL. It's even more obvious that there are so many great players in this game, and it was the same thing. I was nervous. Other guys I never saw before in my entire life, not even maybe an operator. They were shooting rifles, and I'm like kicking ass. I'm like, God bless. How do you do that? But yeah, so never gifted. I don't think. I think I'm a better pistol shooter now than I ever have been, just because I'm constantly shooting gun. You're researching, you're listening to some of your peers maybe, and man, you're just constantly shooting the gun. I just did a 25-meter demonstration for the guys, KSP. I scored 100, and I'm like, man, that's pretty good. I was all right with that. But I said, who got 100? Anybody? Oh no, just me.
Oh, just me. Okay.
So I was all pumped up. Yeah, but it doesn't happen all the time, mind you. But because the previous day, I think I scored a 94 or something, or 90, 92. But anyways, yeah, never. I don't think anybody's pompous enough. Well, maybe there are, but never gifted. Perishable skill. Always have to work at it. I was, when I got out of the Army in 2013, I worked for an armor company for a year, and I was basically a salesman, which I hated it. And I got a chance to go down to Blakely, Georgia, to the arena. The training area. It was a good friend of mine, is the operations sergeant major down there, and we put together, like me, an SF guy and a Ranger guy, put together a film for this company. So we screwed around and did that, but I was scared because I hadn't shot in a while, and I was like, well, let's see if I can beat him. And yeah, I was good enough to beat him, but it still had to come back. Like, wow, okay, at least it's not that bad. At least I have some good memory on it. But,
yeah. This might be a little bit of a, I don't know, philosophical question for this early in the interview, but I was thinking, if you were to take, because you train so many people, you've trained people, you have been trained at the elite levels. If you took 5 random guys off the street with enough time, could you teach them to shoot at an elite level? Or are there some prerequisites that you think that you really need in someone?
I think certainly with any selection process or any company that does that, or if I just took 5 people, I mean, the amount of variables there, right?
Yeah.
It would be incredible. If I could pick 5 decent people and spend enough time with them, I think you can be. Lanny Basham talks about that kind of thing, and with winning in mind. He wasn't good at anything. He'll tell you right up front, he wasn't good at anything. Nothing physical. He didn't want to be a powerful person, but he ended up being really good at shooting. And then he develops this mindset, and it's amazing. But there's a lot of cats. Mike Voigt said this the best. You have to pull the trigger without moving the gun. And if you can do that consistently, obviously you can be successful. But there's so many guys when you see that they're okay, they're pretty good, but then you put them in a ball and dummy drill or something, they don't know if their gun's loaded or not. And then
you put them in what kind of a drill, Dutch? What'd you say?
Ball and dummy.
What's that?
Yeah, so what I'll do sometimes, it depends on what level of students we are, but what I'll do sometimes is put them at 25 meters and we'll do an evaluation shoot. And we'll do a couple strings of that. And I'll talk about where their shot groups might be. Unlike Shrek, he uses video. I don't do video because I'm lazy and I don't want to buy an iPad. I'll do a ball and dummy. So you'll partner up with somebody, or I'll do it with somebody else, whatever. They're facing forward. They're facing their targets. Everybody's taking their shots. And I'll either unload or not load. I'll either load or unload their gun. I put it back on their holster, tap them on the shoulder, go. And then you'll see, right? Because if you do dry fire, which is super important, dry fire is very important, and especially for mechanics. But if you do dry fire at home, you're not pointing at the cat with a live ammunition. You're not pointing at the wall with live ammunition. So it's not loaded. These guys that are in the intermediate or even beginner standpoint, and you put them in a position where they're not sure if it's loaded or not, and you'll see them go, you'll see them heel the gun, or you'll see them push the gun. And so it's a self-discovery moment when they go, oh crap, yeah, I really do that. Yeah. So stop doing that. But it's not as easy as it sounds to say, just stop. But
no. So as you were saying, like if you had the right people and the amount of time, you could train them to be pretty proficient from a shooting perspective.
I do think so. And I think a lot of leaders, I think a lot of shooting instructors could do that. Same with CQB. There's a lot of guys out there that say, well, my guys won't get it. I don't have enough time. Well, maybe that's an indictment on you. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm the best instructor. That's for sure. I'm just a dude, but I think you can translate to people how to do it. And I think they'll hopefully incrementally get better. So.
Yeah. And then the follow-up to that is, let's say that you were going to put together a squad of, a team, and assuming people could be trained to that level or standard of shooting, what are like 2 or 3 of the attributes you're looking for that make people stand out, maybe from your time at the elite level? If everybody can come in and be taught how to shoot and get to that level, what are the characteristics in somebody that you think are really important to bring on for a team?
That's a great question, man. The ability to pay attention, the ability to be able to see things on the range, even though you're focused on the dot or the front side post. The other day we were shooting. I said, who saw that butterfly? That range we were at, there was butterflies everywhere. I'm like, why are there butterflies all around? But I said, who saw that butterfly? They're like, didn't see it. I'm like, I was going to call out, hey, $100 if you shoot that butterfly. But it's funny, nobody saw it. I'm like, I could see that butterfly. You want that guy whose aperture can go from paying attention to, yeah, I see all this too, though. So large, small aperture or large aperture, but being humble too, but being aggressive. So I want to say being humble. I also want to say being aggressive. Staying at work longer to make sure he's better. And it's a sad, is it sad or is it just unfortunate or is that just a thing? But, it's the Tom Brady's or the Michael Jordans that stay longer and do more snaps or do more free throws. It's also the guy who stays, at work and makes sure that he can do this task better.
Assuming those are the things that you see when you're at that elite level, like when you're in JSOC. I'm sure everybody is a talented shooter, but these are some of the characteristics you end up seeing with the people on your left and right.
Oh, for sure. You want people to be uncomfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Oftentimes you'll see people on the range. I was training some Air Force folks a couple of years ago. We had a shooter that just got tired. They were like, "I'm done. I quit." You what? I'm just done. I'm just finished. I'm like, wow. All right. I guess that's on you. You and your command. I can't stop you from leaving.
Yeah.
And sure enough, that shooter packed up the kit and walked off. I'm like, wow.
No.
We had more stuff to do, man. I can't stop them.
Yeah.
So obviously, we want people that have a good mindset, good, let's get this done mindset. There's so many, Ryan, okay, there's so many guys that don't, especially sad to say, but in the law enforcement community, there's a lot of folks out there who don't. Leadership is everything to me. And so there's a lot of folks that don't think about a gunfighter mindset. When you put that gun on, mister or ma'am, you're a gunfighter. You're a peace officer, gunfighter. One of the things I say a lot is if you don't do it for yourself, do it for the other guy. We just had this speech on resiliency, and I'm like, it's not you that's important. So forget it. You're not important. But look over here, look over there. Those are the people that are important. You have to do it for those people. So if you can't, stay after work and train a little harder, if you can't concentrate on that task that we're asking you to do, if you don't want to do it for you, fine. Do it for that guy next to you, because, in the end, you're going to have to rely on him and they're going to have to rely on you to get the job done. So that's my sword is your shield. We trademarked that. And I think that's, it's just indicative of, it's like the Roman phalanx. It's like the hoplites. The hoplites used to have a line of troops, the Greek infantrymen, right? And then that shield was actually not theirs. It was the other guys. And it went down the line like that. And that's where we got that stuff. And I get passionate about it. I mean, I really believe it's true. If they're part of that family, they need to be a tribe leader. They need to be a leader. How many cats don't know how their Glock works, how their hammer-fired gun works or compared to a striker-fired gun works, or how many men don't know the cycles of functioning when it comes to their rifle? If you're going to climb a mountain and you have carabiners and ropes to survive, you should probably know how much weight they take. Otherwise, you may be in trouble. If you're walking around with a gun, pistol or rifle, you better damn well know how it works. It'll save your life when it has a malfunction or a myriad of other things, man. The guy who mows the lawn, does he know how the internal combustion engine works?
Exactly.
He oughta, but not always, does he?
I wonder, is that the kind of like the elite performer? I feel like most people don't have that perception or thought process of like, oh, this is my job. I need to know this inside and out. But people who come from your background probably only got there because they have that instinct.
Plenty of times I was lazy, plenty. There used to be there's a common mantra was, if you're not excited about going through those gates, then you should probably quit. Believe me, there's plenty of times I was tired and I didn't want to go through the gates. I didn't want to quit, but it's just, I hope so. I hope that's the case. And I hope that, as a leader, anytime I deal with 10, 20, 30 different students, I hope I can infuse some of that passion into them. Look, Chris Koenig used to say, if it was easy, monkeys would do it. But they don't. No. So, and it's or reading Grossman, what's that percentage of men that can do this and then go to bed, wake up and do it again with limited consequence to their psyche or their physical ability to do other things.
I've not heard the nickname Dutch before. Where does that come from?
Ronald Reagan, he had Dutch. His name was Dutch, wasn't it? I didn't get it from there. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't get it from that, though. That's funny you say it. A lot of folks ask me. John Spizzo was my platoon sergeant in Bravo Company 175 Rangers. And his favorite movie at the time was The Predator. Me and another guy, he was in first platoon, I was in second. We used to do the Arnold Schwarzenegger stuff all the time. And this one guy was really good at it. But that guy wasn't in John's platoon. I was a sergeant. I was a young E5. And, he would say, Moyer, tell everybody to get to the chopper. And, when Sergeant First Class tells Sergeant to do something, you do it, right?
You do it.
Yeah, you do it. And so I would say that, I would yell it out in formation. That's what he wanted. And so we would do all that kind of shit. And then we went to Panama and he started calling me Dutch. And when I graduated and went higher in SOCOM, they were like, hey, you can't bring your own nickname. I go, I don't care. I don't care about my nickname. I just want to be here. I'm so glad that you're even.
You guys let me in here.
I just want to be here. Yeah. And he goes, but it's funny because the dudes that came before me knew me as Dutch, and guys that came after me knew me as Dutch, and it didn't go away. Couple different opportunities. They tried to change my nickname. It didn't stick. So,
all right,
Simon was a nickname because I blew myself up with a Simon device. I broke my neck. I broke my jaw.
How did that happen?
We were prepping for a mission in Bosnia to get a PIFWIC, a person indicted for war crime. And this tool was Israeli built. It was like a not a cone. It was like a disc, and it would go inside of your rifle, right? Put it in there, and it was a standoff breaching tool, so you could fire it. It was a grenade, basically. It was a grenade that pushed in the door, so you could be 25 meters away from the door, blast that thing, recycle your gun, go to work, and in the meantime, that thing flies in, blasts the door down, and you have a standoff breaching tool. So we decided we wanted to try it on. I don't know what the net explosive weight of this thing was, and I don't care, but we decided to try it on, see if it would disable a vehicle. Because this particular mission, we were slated to stop a vehicle at a roadblock or whatever. And so we tested it at the motor, we tested it at the front wheels, and it did indeed impair that car. So we went back up and we were continuing to prep, and this was 2000. This was when was it? October. It was November. It was November. It was November of 2000, and our particular team's mission just changed. And the guys said, "Hey, the word came down. If the car gets through the roadblock and it comes to you, kill everyone." I'm like, "Wow, that's easy. That's an easy mission. Let's go down range and see what happens to the Simon device. Well, when we shoot the Simon device at the car instead of the motor, and see what it does to the targets that we put in there." So we went down there, put some targets in, and shot the car. I ended up shooting the B pillar, A pillar, B pillar, and it sheared the door skin away. It came right back and smashed me in the face. It broke my neck. It broke my jaw. I lost 6 teeth.
No way.
And it was, I was like, wow, how about that? So somebody said, it was Seth Baker, maybe. He's like, hey, why didn't you duck? I'm like, I don't know. Because it was like that. I don't know. Maybe I tried to duck. I don't know. But I was in a collar. I was jaw wired shut for 30 days. I was on a collar. It was the welcome to the party. First time here. Hey, check this out. But
oh God.
That was cool.
Was there a feeling then of, and you're not downrange anymore, especially at that time? Like when it was so rare to be on deployments like that, I would imagine.
I didn't go. I never went because I was wounded, right?
So it was frustration with that, or no?
Oh yeah, I was. I was able to spend Christmas with the family. But yeah, I was.
Okay.
I remember holding my boy up. I had the neck brace on, right? I got a jaw wire shut. He's put the star on the tree. But I don't know I don't know how long they took. I can't remember. They came back. Most of them said I didn't miss nothing. So, but yeah, frustrating for me. And then you have to, you have to, you have to be at a physical level, of course, to be there. And then all of a sudden, well, guess what? You're not doing anything now. And so I had to climb back up that little mountain. So that was something to do too. Kind of got me exposure. Everybody knew who I was after that.
That's good that nickname didn't stick then. I think.
Yeah, that was cool, but it didn't stick.
All right.
Fine.
So you mentioned, I didn't realize this. You mentioned that you went in for 4 years, got out, and then had a break.
Yeah.
Why did you do that? Why did it not work out the way you intended? Having looked at this, like, oh, I want to be in tanks. It sounds like you got what you wanted.
Yep. What
didn't work out the way you had planned?
Got in, did a pretty good job. I made E5 and was on the verge of making E6, which I made later in National Guard. Yeah, sort of doesn't count. The climate of the not so special regular soldier was pretty, it was laden with drugs and alcohol. Leadership was bad. I finished my first 4.5-year career in Germany. The Graham-Rudman Act pushed a lot of folks out. If they didn't want to stay, they were offering, I don't think they were offering money, but they were cutting the budget so they were getting people out. There were some good things that happened to me when I was in Germany, and I really enjoyed being part of the mechanized portion of the combat arm, but leadership, the lack of it. It was just, back in the regular army, you have a formation in the morning for PT. Good. Okay. Accountability, go do PT. Then it was after chow, you had another accountability formation, or it was after lunch, you had another one. Then it was after work at the motor pool, you come back at 1700, have another formation to end the day. And quite often, I would stand around, and we all would stand around. Meanwhile, somewhere down there in the hole, the first sergeant and the platoon sergeants and the commander or whomever were having a discussion about whatever was happening. I don't know, short range training calendar, medium range training calendar, what happens tomorrow. I don't even know what the hell they were talking about. But you have a bunch of dudes just milling around, doing nothing. They have families to go to. They have things to do. But then rather than stand around, and then inevitably they'd come back up, do a formation and say 06 tomorrow PT, which you already knew. Everybody knew you were doing that anyway. So what a waste of time. You're waiting until 18:30, 17. Hey, go to chow, come back. Just tell them, beat it, and I'll see you at 6 a.m. But this went on, and it just wasn't good. And again, the drugs and the crime and the alcohol, it's just like it's not for me. I want to get out. And of course, as soon as I got out, I worked for UPS. I was a shipping supervisor. I was a laborer, shipping supervisor, but I wanted to have that brotherhood again. But I really didn't, I wasn't, all the research I did in World War II in Vietnam, I really didn't even think about being a ranger or an infantryman as, when I was a tank armor crewman tanker. So then when I got out, I started doing more research, and I went, hey, gee whiz, I could have done that. So that's what I tried to do. Then I tried to get back in. I tried to keep my rank, but it was impossible. So
you had to start from scratch.
Yeah, you pretty much lost everything and came back. And there's a lot of funny stories in there. Because I really thought I would have to go through the whole thing. And long story short, I ended up, TRADOC at the time was saying that if you were coming back in to reclassify, you were already a soldier, so you weren't subject to all these other things. But it really, from my perspective, my experience, my personal experience, it depends upon who was the guy looking after you. I had a sergeant first class that was looking after us. He was the platoon sergeant of the basic infantry organization I went back to again. And he was understanding of my plight, but the staff sergeant under him didn't give a shit. He was like, I don't care. You're a trainee. You're nothing. So I would roll my hat, and then some drill sergeant would come by and take my hat off and stomp on it. And, I'd pick it back up and roger that, sergeant, and roll it back up again. But other sergeants would say, hey, can you help me do a class? And I said, roger that, sergeant, I can. So it was weird. It was kind of a weird time. Yeah. And AIT was better. I got removed from the basic training thing. I went to AIT, in which there were 10 or 14 of us that had our own floor. And that particular company honored the TRADOC protocol. So they left us alone. We did what we needed to do. We actually helped out with the trainees. There's a lot of experience to give there. Why wouldn't you use that, right?
Do you think that it was just the idea that it was the conventional military versus the special ops side that would have been the difference, no matter what unit you went to?
Yeah, I do think that.
Made for the special ops environment.
That's a culture. That's a culture. Yeah. These people care. These people take it seriously. These people want to get after the enemy. They want to get their outside of Kona's kill. They want to get their Kona's kill. You hear silly things like that, but no, they want. Somebody said the other day, "Oh, it's because you're a sociopath." I'm like, well, I don't. The true definition of the word. I don't think you're a sociopath, but you do understand how heavy the weight needs to be, and your shoulders are big enough to take it. That's the Grossman stuff too, right? These people know that they can do it, and they do. Not everybody's cut out for that.
You mentioned where you grew up, but was it tough? Was it a tough childhood? Beyond being a middle son, I have 3 sons as well, so I know the middle son very well.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Yeah,
it wasn't tough. It wasn't, I wasn't a black kid growing up in a white neighborhood.
Yeah,
in the 60s and 70s, I wasn't. We were blue collar. I had to work hard to get my grades because I'm a dummy. I'm infinitely smarter now than I was when I was a high schooler, but it's funny how that works too. I was just talking to my daughter about that very thing. But no, I did not have a tough time. We were blue collar all the way. My mom decorated cakes for extra money. My dad was a salesman for Georgia Pacific. Very, very middle class, or just below it.
Oh yeah, blue collar.
He got company cars because he drove all the time. So we always had a decent car. I don't ever remember being want for anything. You know what I mean? Sure, you had troubles, but never want for anything. I was the troublemaker out of the 3 of us. I was always the troublemaker.
It's what the middle son does.
Is that your experience too?
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm one of 3 boys. Yeah. Oh my God. That's sure.
Funny. Yeah. So no, not particularly tough at all, but it's a good grounded family.
Yeah.
Mom had a role. Dad had a role. God had a part to play. Hard work was the key. Father knew that too. And he said, you're doing this, you're doing that. There wasn't task condition standards necessarily like, from the leadership manual, but yes, you are doing these things. Yes, you are doing those things. We had pets. You had to take care of the pets. If you wanted something, you had to do something to get it. But also, we could ride our bikes with no helmets. We could
be out all day.
Yeah, he'd say, "Go." Hey, we're going to the creek. Yeah, go.
No more. No longer.
Kick ass. Go do that thing. There was backyards upon backyards upon backyards. We would go through. A bunch of us that would play Army. I had ironically, like my favorite little plastic gun was a green molded plastic, 1911 with brown. It was just the brown portion of it painted as the grips. I'm like, yeah, that's my favorite. So we run around those yards and the creek, climb trees, and play Army. And you learn all kinds of shit there.
Did you notice right when you got back into the military and you go into Ranger Battalion, like it's night and day compared to what you had experienced before?
Yeah, but because it wasn't the regular Army anymore. Now this
right.
was, my first taste of Special Operations Command. This is, the Rangers are part of JSOC. So yeah, now there's a lot of people that care. Holy crap, these people care, and I kind of already knew that coming in, I think, because of the research I did, and I prepped for it. I did a lot of road marches at night. I used to work as a bartender, so I would walk from my house to the bar with 40 pounds on my back, and then I'd clean up real quick and 10 bar. I was just shot in a beer bar. It's like I didn't have to wear nice clothes. And then girlfriend down the way at girlfriend's house, I'd put my rucksack on. I'd walk all the way to her place in the dark, stupid, but I did it, and we'd hang out. But it's just, they cared. I wanted to care. Yeah. I read books about men who took it seriously. All of a sudden, now I'm in a training regimen that they're taking this seriously. Ranger history was part of the curriculum. I love that stuff. So let's talk about Ranger history.
When tell me if I'm wrong to assume this, Dutch. I assume from Ranger Battalion to the next level up, right? With the unit, like there's everybody cares in that spectrum. I would imagine, and this is where I need you to steer me straight, that Ranger Battalion still has more of that structure to it that you may have seen, like formation, accountability. Whereas the farther up in the NFL, as you described it, you go, I would imagine there's less of that, but you take on the responsibility yourself.
Yes. So going backwards, right at the top, your big boys rules. You're expected to be here. Don't be late, don't be out of uniform. And it's on you. We did exercises that I had to buy my own ticket. I had to get to the airport. Yep. I had to meet a man I'd never met before in my entire life. I had to go here. I had to go there. I had to fly to Budapest. What the hell am I doing by myself? And no orders were given. It was this is one of the best exercises I've ever done. And you just had to work out of some ambiguity. You had a set of rules you could do. You couldn't go all the way on your BDM. You couldn't take you had to take public transportation. You couldn't take taxis, stuff like that. So you had to find a way to blend in. You had to find a way to do the things you needed to do. And there was a couple missions along the way. And then finally you had to meet up somewhere. You had to exchange bona fides, go to a hotel room, get your kit, put your kit on, and go do a hit. And that was one of the coolest things I've ever done. So everybody's going everywhere, and then you're all meeting everybody together. So chronologically, like I said, so Ranger Battalion the problem is, you have to have structure because you have 17 and 18-year-olds. I remember when Chris Canning came on board, he actually got booted, but this young man came on board. Bobby Arndt was the platoon sergeant. I was the weapons squad leader. And this kid came on board. He's 17. White bread, Alabama, 17. He was so white. He had white hair. And, he was like the little boy. But it was funny because when Bob and I were about the same age, and we're like, it's finally happened. A man is here before we joined the Army before he was born. That was, okay, now it's finally happened. Here it is. He's the guy. And then he's a jump refusal. He wouldn't jump out of the airplane.
Really?
Yeah, I was on the ship. I'm like, you got to jump out of the airplane. I was chasing jumps at the time. I was trying to get my star. And the kid didn't want to jump all of a sudden. I said, who wants to jump with me? Because I said, who wants to chase jumps? I'm chasing jumps. And two kids came with me, and he was one of them. And he wouldn't get out of the airplane.
No.
He told the safety, so I'm not getting up. I'm not hooking up. I'm like, they came to me and said, hey, you don't want to hook up. I said, leave it to me. I got it. He wouldn't do it. I thought for sure all I'd have to do was just hook him on. I told the kid behind it was named Garcia or something like that. I said, chase him out of the airplane. Just push his ass out. He would not go.
It was a static line jump, right?
Yeah, static line jump.
Yeah, man.
He wouldn't go. Off he went. Good.
So Dutch, for people listening who weren't in the military, there may be this stereotype of, don't you just push someone like that out? Don't you just kick their ass straight out of the aircraft?
If this young man is not going to physically put his static line hook on the static line, what are you going to do?
Going to push him. Yeah.
Can't make him. I told him, I said, look, all you have to do is let gravity take place. It's so easy. You hear it on Band of Brothers. The guy says exactly what we were saying.
Great show.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I just saw one the other day. It was on HBO on demand in the hotel room, and I didn't have to sign in. I'm watching the first one. But then the guy says, rest assured, once you get out of the aircraft, the dynamic act of parachuting will take place. That's not what he said. It's something like that, but that's what we used to say. Gravity takes place, man. The static line does all the work for you. You don't have to do anything. It's mindless, right? Just jump out and boom, let that thing open up by itself. And it's whatever. He just wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it.
Oh man.
On occasion, you had those guys do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure why, but this dovetails into another Band of Brothers episode. It's about fear. This is I think it's the third episode. It's called Quarantine, and it highlights a guy named William Blythe who he says he took the air sickness pills and fell asleep. He pretty much, after he jumped, he found a hole and stayed in that hole until he found other dudes, but it was late in the game. And he finally hooks up with everybody from Easy Company on like day 3, and he misses everything in day 1 and 2. He just kind of stays in the hole. But in the beginning, how the Band of Brothers is structured, and if you haven't seen it out there, and you have to see it, it's a prerequisite for all Americans to see this. Right? But the beginning is all the veterans talk, right? And you don't even know their names. They won't even show you their names. They don't show you until episode 10. But they're all talking about fear. And he said, everybody's scared. You just have to overcome the fear. You have to do that, right? And you don't necessarily do it for yourself. You have to do it for someone else. And it is the truth. I mean, everybody's scared a little bit. It's scary to jump out of an airplane with a parachute. It's scary to get into a firefight. Would it be much better just to run away and hide? No, not if you want to help out, right? And that's the difference between people too. You're going back to what you said before about the psyche of other people. The psyche of the one. What movie was it? I think it's called. Is it called the Twin Towers, or it's called 9/11 Twin Towers?
Documentary or a movie?
No, it's a film. It's Nicolas Cage is in it. He's one of the. He's not a police officer, but he is. But for public safety, with the Port Authority, he's a Port Authority police officer. Him and another guy. And when they see what's happening to the towers, they run to the sound of the guns. When you see them doing that, right? I'm watching it in the movie theater. I'm like, getting chills, because that's exactly what you have to do, right? It's you have to do this. I go on and on, but 13th Warrior. See that movie?
Yep. And it's World Trade Center is the other one that you were talking
about. World Trade Center. Thank you. It is. That's exactly what it is. So in the 13th Warrior, and I'll use Stonewall Jackson as an example of a real man, and I'll use a fictional guy, which was the Norse guy in 13th Warrior, when he says, hide in a hole if you like, but the All-Father has written the skein of your life long ago, and you can't change it. So Stonewall Jackson, was the reason why he got his name Stonewall, because he stood like a stone wall, and it doesn't matter what happens. He said, God has already written my life. It doesn't matter what I do. Am I still going to hide behind a tree? Maybe. But, do I think God has already written my life? I don't know how he's got it going on, but it's very interesting. There is fear, but you're going to have to control that fear, and you're going to have to do what you came to do.
For people who look at someone like you, though, Dutch, right? Like conventional force folks or folks who've never been in the service, and they know that you've been at the elite level. I think the stereotype is, or the assumption is, guys like Dutch don't get scared going into that.
We all get scared.
So how did you manage it?
First of all, you just do. You just do. If you don't, obviously then you need to find another job. Go be a waste disposable guy. Go be a lawyer. Go flip burgers.
Go work a desk. Yeah.
Go work a desk.
What we all do now. Yeah.
You're going to have to get over it. Now, how do you really manage it? Again, if you can think that, before you go through the breach, you're having this spidey sense tingling, something's bad here, and what's going to happen next, trust in the training that you did, trust in the men that are next to you. The guy in the Band of Brothers, which it may be maybe the cat from West Virginia, Shorty, not Shorty. What do they call him? I think maybe it was Shorty. But he's like, you have to remember the training, right? And SLA Marshall talked about this. Guys that went to World War II really weren't trained well enough. They talked about all this, and you have to remember that the man next to you on either side has to be more important than you. Yeah, and that's I'm dovetailing all this stuff together, I guess, not on purpose, but you go back to the gratitude. William Buckley wrote a book called Gratitude. And when you ask me why did I join the military, one of the reasons why I rejoined with such fervor is because I read that book from Buckley. It's called Gratitude. It's gratitude for the men and women that came before that made the great republic, and that did the things that they did to allow this republic to survive. And Buckley was a great conservative author, and he's a great talker. And I always remember that, and when I was on a board to where I went in the end, and they said, why do you want to do this? And I said exactly that. I said, none of you men on this board are ever going to know me. You're never going to really know me. Maybe some of you get to know me a little bit, but probably in the end, you'll never know me and I'll never know you. But sitting here today, I'm blessed to be here, but I just want the chance to be able to give back and test my mettle against everything else. But I want to give back and show the gratitude that these other people came long before me. So
was that for selection?
That was my final answer.
Oh crap! Did you end up sitting on those boards later?
I never did sit on them.
No. Wow. Okay. So you didn't have to be on the other end, the receiving end.
I sat on other boards for hiring personnel, but never that.
Damn.
I was never that high. I reached the rank of that high, but I never had a position of that importance.
Got it. If I can ask, when you went through selection, without getting into details, obviously, but just like the mentality that it takes to get through it. Obviously, we talked to Shrek and he was like, I loved it. They just told me where to show up. I showed up. I did the work. It's tough. Any lessons that you drew from that process that you still carry with you?
John's effed up in the head. I'm not sure I loved it. I did it twice. I was very fortunate enough to be allowed to come back, which later on another senior level guy said, if you don't do it twice, you're not trying hard enough. It was certainly the hardest physical thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Dutch, how hard was it to come back for something like that? If I don't know the circumstances of
I didn't complete it the first time.
Right, but knowing that and how tough it was, like the mentality to come back in, how hard was that for you?
I thought that the first time I went, I overtrained. I was tired, and I didn't pay enough attention. I'm looking at my map going, yeah, I need to go here. So I just go. And then I got there and I go, oh, it's not here. It's over there. It's just one more. And so I'd already failed, and maybe I didn't stay on a ridge, or maybe I didn't use the terrain to my advantage, and then I would inevitably be late. And I don't know what those time standards are. I didn't make it. But what makes me want to go back is like, I can do that. Yeah, I could do that. I know I could do this, right? I was healthy enough. I wasn't broken. And honestly, I thought it was the next thing for any man to achieve the next level. I need to try, right? I just need to try to test my mettle against this thing. What's this next thing going to be like? And believe me, I had my challenges. Before Ranger School, I couldn't swim worth a shit. I was a terrible swimmer. I was not a good survival swimmer. I failed the swim test for Ranger School over and over. I had a heat stroke in Ranger School.
Damn.
Later on, when I did another selection, right, I had to swim much longer. I failed it. I thought I could get away with it. I couldn't. They found out, and they're like, hey, you need to do this. I'm almost at the end of this course, and I had to swim this 100 meters with my BDs and boots on, and I couldn't do it. I sucked.
Oh,
They're like, hey, you got 2 weeks. Do it or get the hell out. And I had two great guys that helped me. Two great guys that helped me. And they stuck with me, and I did it. So
damn.
I'm a much better swimmer now than I was before.
Ah,
I'm not proud of
jeez.
it, but guess what? Everybody's got weak links.
No, I'm really glad you brought that up, because I think you hear from a lot of these people and you just assume that they go through with flying colors, never have
some
trouble.
of them do. Some of them are amazing.
It's rare. It's
Walt,
rare though, isn't it?
Tony, these guys are amazing.
You know these people.
I'm telling you, if you go again, it's like that football analogy. This college team that you're on, that's pretty good, but you're awesome. You're the star. Well, guess what? People that want you to be on the NFL team are looking for all the stars. When you show up, you're like, holy crap. Yeah, when do the obstacle course, and there's dudes flying over obstacles that I'm never going to fly over that, right? It's just that's not happening. I walked across with, I think there was 24 guys. Walt, John, Lee, Jim, Kevin. 5 of them were best Ranger competitors.
Get out.
Wait, Kev, Jim, Walt, John. Was Johnny? John might have been a winner or not, but those 3 guys won. They're best Ranger winners, and the one dude is a perennial. He's like a best Ranger winner like 5 times. I mean, I was humbled every moment of my life. I thought I did okay in 175. And you go up here and you're like, oh my gosh, these guys are awesome. And my admiration for all those men, right? All the guys that came before me, the guys in my class, the guys that came after me. There's dudes that can do anything. You had a guy who made guitars, or a guy who brewed beer, or a guy who wrote songs, or a guy who was a math genius and a construction guy, and you just I rebuild motors in my spare time. There's it's just there are so many smart, awesome people there. It's just they blow you away.
We had Brad Thomas on. I should have told you that as well.
Oh,
musician, like a legit musician. And I was asking him, how many guys at the unit are musicians? He's like, you'd be surprised at the talents you see in that community. I'm not surprised because, and I'm not comparing the agency to that, but you do get some interesting people who make their way into the agency with incredible backgrounds that you never would guess. So to hear that, I was like, I'm not actually that surprised to hear.
It's cool. I mean, I get excited, right? I'd be on the phone with my dad. You can't believe it. These guys are amazing.
So Dutch, there's something that I hear a lot in, maybe it's just being in tech in Silicon Valley, but this idea of imposter syndrome, which I think it's basically like you show up to a place like the unit or the dream team or whatever, you're on the Patriots, and you look around and you're like, how the hell did I get here? How am I allowed to be here? Like, I'm an imposter, and it's only a matter of time until someone finds me out. And I bring it up because every time I talk to a tier 1 person, they say the same thing. Like, I just hope I'm here tomorrow and they don't kick me out. Basically.
I was blessed beyond belief to be there, to be in that company of those men. I'm sure there were times, especially the times of doubt, like the swimming. In the beginning of my career, I shot a lot of targets that I shouldn't.
Interesting. Yeah.
I couldn't stop it. I'm blowing people away. I'm killing canaries all day long. And, I got to talk to you. I got to sit down. Hey, can't do this anymore. And it's true, right? Now that I evaluate men that go through close quarter battle, if you can't target discriminate, I can't use you. You can't do it. So I had to clean up my game. I had to make sure I knew what the hell I was doing.
And you spent a long time there too. It's not like you just did a couple years, right?
Well, yeah, almost 14 years.
That's a long time to have that question mark over your head. Does it ever kind of go away where you're like, all right, I'm good enough to
Oh, the
stay
question
here?
mark, that training question mark goes away once you fix it. So that goes away. There was another incident when I was young. I was young on the team, and I shot a paint round into the wall in my team room.
So not you weren't on an objective like training. You were just in the team room.
I was prepping for a mission. I was prepping for a training mission, and I was in a hurry, and I was actually putting a flashlight on. Back in the day, the 1911s, your sim 1911 was obviously different from your live 1911, and I had to remove the Surefire flashlight from the live with my real gun and put it on my sim. And that required a whole new slide stop that was much longer because it has to go through the slide and then the additional material that went on the Surefire. Because we didn't have Picatinny rails back then. And I never dropped this. I never dropped the source. And I went to a functions check.
Were there other people in the room at the time?
So I had to tell everyone I had to tell everyone that was on the chain of command that I just did this. Now,
holy shit.
Was there a dude in the room? Dan Taylor knew it happened, and I went to everybody and said, "Hey, this is what I did." I'm like, "Are you ready for the mission? Can you go?" I'm like, "Okay, I'll go." So we did this cool mission, whatever it was, a training mission. Came back, and then I got reprimanded, of course. And what we used to do was kind of put ourselves out there and say, "This is what I did. It's up to you."
Yeah.
And a lot of people didn't even want to talk to me. And other guys came up and said, "Dude, why didn't you tell anybody?" Because we used to throw bangers in each other's rooms. We used to shoot each other on purpose with sand guns. So I figured if it was money, if it was guns, and I better say something. So
would you have done it the same way again after having done it that way?
Yeah, I would have to.
Yeah.
But I was scared to death that I was gone.
Oh, I'm sure, man.
Yeah, I went home and started calling people that I knew that were in different units and said, "You got a spot for me? Because I might need it."
God.
But I lost a lot of pay. I got basically put on probation. And
busted down in rank?
Nope.
No. Okay.
No. Just lost pay. We get an additional bump in pay.
As you should.
All that got removed. So for a time. I was put on, if you screw up again, we're booting you. And I swum through it. I got through it.
So feel free to take this question any direction you want, Dutch. I'm always curious the first time somebody finds themselves in combat.
I was on the longest air assault raid in the history of military warfare. I was nervous as all get out. I think I pissed 3 times on the aircraft and threw the piss bags out the window. The towers came down September 11th. We struck back October 17th. And, to look out, you're sitting in the aircraft, look out the back. You're flying nap of the earth, of course. And to see gun trucks on the hills shooting at you with tracers. You go, "Huh, that's real. That's some real shit right there. They want me dead." How about that? Yeah. And then just landing and then just doing your job. I was an assistant breacher, and of course assaulter or whatever, but assistant breacher first, and just doing your job, trying to focus on that. And then coming back and then seeing holes in the aircraft, seeing holes in the blades, and you know how how valuable that is. I mean, you're That's like, right. Those blades can't take a bunch of holes in them.
Helicopters aren't meant to fly anyway, so
right.
you don't want to introduce any problems.
Oh, and by the way, the 47 to me is the strangest. I mean, the transmission drive between hub and hub, right? I don't know how that even works. I don't know. I don't care. It's absolutely amazing.
You don't want to know. Yeah.
Orville and Wilbur would be like, "What in the hell did you do?"
I don't know the first person who went up in a helicopter and came down safely. Like, I don't even know how they figured that out to begin with. But all right, I got you.
Absolutely amazing technology, even today, right? It's just absolutely amazing.
It is.
I don't care when I see when I'm at an airport or something. I see passenger planes fly away. When I see C-17s fly away, I really want Da Vinci and the Wright brothers to look at that. I really wish they could see it. I hope there's a heaven, and I hope they know it's there. That's got to be the most amazing thing, right? We tried that, and this is what we did. I designed this, and it didn't work out that well. But now look what you can do. The whole 5,000-year leap. I mean, if you think about it, right? What we did when the Chinese introduced gunpowder, or when the first rounds were fired, with a musket and ball, call it Breeds Hill or Bunker Hill. I don't care what you want to do, and then go on to what happens. I use this example a lot. I love technology is fantastic, right? But it's also a detriment. But when you look at warfare, the movie Glory with Matthew Broderick, and it's about the 54th Mass, the first Black regiment to fight in Civil War. There's a scene in there where they just get their rifles and they're kind of screwing around, and they're shooting bottles off a wall or whatever. And then Colonel Shaw that's who he was. Whether this happened or not, it doesn't matter. Colonel Shaw shows up and says, "Oh, you're pretty good with a rifle. Now I want you to do it faster. Go faster." He said, "A good rifleman can shoot 3 well-aimed shots in a minute. 3 in a minute." Now we have dudes that can shoot a rifle. How many rounds can you fire in a minute? But not even fully automatic. Let's go through a whole 30-round magazine. I'm pretty sure you can get 30 decently aimed shots at 50 meters in a minute. And that's easy to do. And so so the technology is amazing to me. That's why I tell people, I said, there's some strange things going on right now in the country, but you don't want a civil war right now.
No.
It'll be. You think Civil War is bloody? Next Civil War is going to be horrible. Yeah. But it's amazing to me.
So you had mentioned before we started recording, and we'll come back to this, but staying on that topic of helicopters and crashes.
So that was kind of nerve-wracking, right? Obviously, to me, when it was finished, the most nerve-wracking was getting refueled in the desert.
Why?
Because I knew what happened in Desert One.
Oh, huh.
When you read Bill Kyle's book, it's horrible. I can't remember. The Guts to Try. Yeah. The Guts to Try by William Kyle. That's awesome. That whole idea, what happened in Desert One, obviously, when they collided with each other. And I'm sitting in the helo going, don't collide with us, don't collide with us, don't collide with us. That's all I could think of was Desert One. You're just like when you're flying Napa Earth and somebody's trying to shoot you, you are a bus rider. You can't do anything about it. So it's this guy, right? So remember what we talked about, my sword is your shield, or we talked about if you don't do it for you, do it for somebody else. That guy in the pilot seat, he's doing it for you. He's flying 100%. His best, right? He's doing his best to avoid that, to get you where you need to go. And it's, he's doing it for me right now. So when I get on the ground, I'll do it for him and my mates. So it's that's cool.
Dutch, when you came off that first mission, I mean, especially that close to 9/11, I mean, relatively speaking.
Oh, it was close.
What did it feel like for you coming off of that? I mean, it had to have felt great.
That was amazing. We actually wrote our names on aircraft. That's awesome. It was amazing to do that. Yeah. And then we had more work to do, of course, but that was awesome. Yep.
You mentioned something else there that I just wanted to touch on because I hadn't heard somebody say that they were an assistant breacher before. So you mentioned like you just got to be focused on your job. Could you just talk through for the layman here? you're coming off of an aircraft, you're on the X, you're going up to the breach point. If you're a breacher, what is your field of view? What are you looking at and thinking about for the amount of time it takes to get from wherever you're starting to the breach point? Like, what's going through your head if that's your job as a breacher?
Yeah, to me, anybody does this. Yes, I got an accordion. Here's where I want to go. What's going around me? Here's where I want to go. What's going on around me? To me, it's a constant. The snapshot that some people talk about when you do CQB. It's not pause in the doorway and start studying. You have to study as you flow as quickly as possible into the breach. So the same thing with anybody. If you're moving from here to there, you have to worry about what's at your feet, because you get this thing that you're carrying, whether it's a linear charge, wall charge, whatever charge. You can't do anything inside unless you get this to the door and get this going, right? And this has to be successful. So as a breacher, which, by the way, in my early days, I wasn't very good at all. So as a breacher, though, you got to be focused on how you're going to get this in your hand to there. And you have to make sure that's a positive breach. But in the meantime, you got to look around, try to see what's going on. What do I need to do? How do I get there? Is it a long breach? Is it small? What is it? Is it a big door breach? Is it small?
I would assume, I'd assume you're assessing, like, does the door look, or does the breach point look like what we were told? Or
yep. Is this where we want to go? Is there two doors there? Is there a screen door and another door? Yeah, because guess what? If you see two doors there, you're an idiot, right? You got to open that door and stick the charge rather on the other door, because they ain't gonna do no good over here. So there are things like that. Yeah, you have to look at the door real quick, and figure out where you're gonna put this thing. And what makes more sense?
What makes somebody you said, like, you weren't very good at it. What makes somebody better than someone else at this? Besides you just being very humble.
No, I just had a couple of no breaches. You don't want that ever. The screen door type thing, the two-door thing was one of my mistakes I made. Tunnel vision. Issues that happen on target, whether training or real life, usually happen because you get tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably the same way with a helicopter, I would imagine. There's that
people we lost, that's why they died. It was tunnel vision.
That age-old photograph or a video where the guy's flying at Fort Campbell, I'm pretty sure it is, and he says, "Hey, you think I can get through those two trees?" Nope. His number two says nope, and he says, "Oh, ye of little faith." And sure enough, right? He can't get through. He's like, Mayday.
For people listening, this is a video every single flight student watches. They make you watch this. It's live footage from their camera. Like, you listen to them go through and, hey, I'm going to make it. You think I can get through that? And the other guy says, no.
Nope.
You watch. Oh, ye of little faith is the title.
That's exactly what it says. Ye of little faith. I'm going through there. Nope, doesn't make it. Hot shot. Okay, hot shot. So I don't know if it's tunnel vision or he couldn't. Obviously, one guy could clearly see that it's not a good idea. The other guy,
I think that's ego. That's ego. But tunnel vision, like, we had people focused on a target on the ground. They got target fixation, is what we would call it, and they fly into the ground. Yep. So I would imagine, you're breaching. You're like, I would imagine that's a little bit like this. Don't take this the wrong way, but like being a kicker in the sense of everybody is watching you. All eyes are on you. If you don't make this work, we have a problem, right? Like, if you're breaching, nothing else happens in that op if something goes wrong with you.
Yep. And so you better get it right. And obviously, we're not all cut out for all those good jobs. I wasn't. There are dudes. Guess what? I am sure of it. There are dudes that were good at everything. I was good at. I hope I was good at most things, but I wasn't good at everything.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Jeez. So as we mentioned this other incident with a crash. Could you talk through that one?
Yeah, we were preparing to leave the area of operations, and a helicopter right next to me crashed. I was the closest guy, with no doubt. I was the closest guy to the crash. My reaction time to get to the wounded, not anywhere near as fast as it should have been. So you talk about scary moments like that. That's a scary moment, right? One of my mates was trapped underneath the skid. The other was just shaken horribly. Everybody suffered pretty hard injuries from that. Both men did come back to work, so it's okay. So did both both of the aircraft operators came back to work too. So, yeah, it was bad. It was just dark. It was dark, and you're in the middle of the desert, and you do things in the middle of the night in the desert with no moon on purpose because you don't want to be detected. Obviously, our Air Force brethren had just told the Air Force guys that this is suitable for them to land this D-17 in the middle of the darkness. I'll tell you what, too, one of the proudest moments as an American is right here, same day. Scary moment that my mates got in a crash, and I'll tell you another interesting thing about that crash in a minute. But proudest moments, I'm talking to another guy on the intercom radio. We're on vehicles, and I'm like, dude, superpower. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Dudes walked out there. Dudes came back and told dudes flying an airplane in the dark that desert strip was okay to land on. And they land this behemoth of an airplane on a dirt runway, a dirt road, dude, in the middle of the pitch black darkness on nods. Superpower. I'm like, that is superpower right there.
That is so true. I've seen something very similar happen, like been there for it. And I was like, oh my God, you can't even see this thing. And then it's this giant object, super loud out of nowhere, landing unimproved surface. That's really cool.
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Cool. Yeah. And then moments later, right, or whenever it was, helicopter crashes and we got to clean it all up, put it on board and go. It was scary moments, but man, that was a different time. I think it was a different, because now that I'm remembering it, I was in a vehicle for the one for sure, and then the other one I was in a little bird for the other. But yeah, a lot of crashes, man. I was probably involved in 4 or 5 crashes. Hard landings and crashes. That was hard. Line strikes, wire strikes.
You've been in an aircraft for a wire strike?
Yeah. Landed hard on an objective, so hard that airplane could not fly away. Didn't hurt us. That's a crash. Crashed the Fallujah ball on a wall and stuff. That's a crash, but it's not a real crash. Then the roof crash was the most heinous. I wasn't on the aircraft. I was on the first floor. Airplane crashed on the roof, and looking back on it, it was the most horrible noise you could ever think of. It sounded like a tornado. You got your felt doors on, you're on the first floor starting to clear, and then you hear this horrendous noise right above you. And you just know, in your head, everyone's dead. When you go up there, you're going to find everyone dead. It wasn't the case. But I was one of the first guys up on the roof. One guy was thrown. Everybody's thrown from the pods. One guy lost his leg. The helicopter was completely it wasn't completely the whole rotor hub was gone. The nacelle was smashed. They had landed and they caught something inside. I don't know if they caught in a motor or they caught in a hub. I'm not exactly sure, but it couldn't help it spinning around. Because as we know, the population / enemy, whomever who lives in this house in the summertime will often sleep outside, and there's bedding and stuff up on that roof, and that's what happened. They got caught with bedding and stuff in there. So we're giving morphine to a guy. Another guy hands me. He's taking charge, by the way, and he's under shock, but he's doing a pretty good job taking charge. But he's in shock for sure, and he says, "Here, keep this." And it's a bag, and I keep it, and I'm not sure exactly what it is. I can't tell. And we're continuing to work on another guy, and I'm looking at the bag, and it's toes. It's toes, and I'm not sure how. I've never asked that guy how he got them.
He was responding, Dutch, right? He wasn't injured. He was in shock from responding and collecting.
He was in shock from the crash. he was ambulatory and all good to go, but he was trying to get his people together up there. And this guy had his bag of toast. I'm like, so then I get to one guy and he doesn't have a leg, so this must be where the toes come from. But we never found anything. It just all got, swept away. But he suffered multiple. It lacerated. He broke one leg severely, and the other leg was obviously cut off.
I was going to ask, when that happened and you're on the first floor, what happens to the op at that point in time?
You continue to go.
So you kept going through for the objective, and then it's like, let me get up to the roof and help
as fast as I can. Yeah. But you got to finish. I mean, you have to finish.
Does it change your speed?
Sure.
Trying to get through.
Yeah. You'll stuff like that. You hang out more. You hang it out. Yeah. Go as fast as you can, get up there. I remember running up the stairs thinking all I'm going to see is dead people, but it didn't happen. So that was great. It was a good thing. But it was just it was some of the guys that were involved in the crash were helping out the other guys that were wounded. Another guy helping people get stuff together. We were pulling the dudes out of the helicopter. Then you had to wait on target for quite a while so you get the jet team in. Is it jet team? Is that what's called? Right?
You'd hear that. What were they pulling out the aircraft?
Yeah, they pulled the whole thing.
Yeah.
Leave nothing.
I got to imagine when you're operating at that level, like the strategic level, like you're only getting the hard ops, really. And I don't know if there were many of these cases or not, but did you find yourself going on to an op where you're like, this could go south easily, this could go sideways? And how do you prepare for something like that?
I think yes, but I personally didn't think that way. Good friend of mine looked at me I remember specifically one day, he's like, what do you think about this? I'm like, it's just another day. I don't think anything about it. And nothing happened that day either. But he was obviously concerned about something. I just never, I'll be honest with you. And dude, I'm telling you, I was scared plenty of times, but I never, ever talked about it. I would make funny references. I would make a joke. I would, the way I dealt with it, I would talk while we were doing it. I would, another friend of mine hummed a little bit on occasion. I remember that. I think most of the time when you think it's going to go sideways, it just goes fine. The other times, it's just all of a sudden something happens.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, all of a sudden something happens and you're just reacting. We had a big ambush scenario where it was early and it was Fallujah. Everything was benign. Everything we did was benign, and all of a sudden it wasn't. But it was funny too, because when you start hearing, you're fed, right? Your mind is fed by media narrative, and it's fed by other men's stories of other places. When you hear the mosque start singing, and you wonder, I don't believe there's a call to prayer at 2:00 in the morning. Are they really? What are they? Ask the Turk.
Right.
Is the Turk anywhere around? Are they talking about us? What are they doing? Are they calling to Shahad right now because we're here? That was the ambush, and then we got 2 guys severely wounded and a couple other guys wounded. But I was intubating a guy, blood all over my legs.
Really?
He ended up surviving. Yeah, we put him on an airplane expectant. For those of you who don't know, that means we expect him to die. He survived, and he's had a lot of surgery since, and he's still kicking.
This is one of your teammates, Dutch.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
Yeah. Truck catch on fire. It's we did well on the give back. I think we got rid of 13. And it's that particular day I equate it with, have you ever read 5 Years to Freedom by Nick Rowe?
Yeah.
Fantastic book, right? I recommend that book to anyone I ever talk to. It's on my recommended reading list. But when he's getting overrun and he's just shooting, and then he has to go, he has to settle down and put the sight post. He has to put the sight post in the circle, focus on that, and press the trigger, and a man falls. He does it again, a man falls. He mentions that in his book, right? Just, oh, this is how it works, right? Calm myself down, bam, 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 bam. The ambush was like that too. You'd see flashes of light. They weren't very far away from us. Did I see a bunch of dudes, silhouetted? No. But you'd shoot that light and it would no longer be there anymore. You just work yourself through it. And then you're guiding. I was guiding 50 cal, our gunner, our Ranger 50 cal gunner. I was guiding him with targets. But that was pretty nerve wracking. Yeah, sure. But I think the follow-on 48 was even more nerve wracking. But those are all stories. But
got it. The amount of training y'all do, I've heard this time and again from the tier 1 operators. It's just like you train so much that you just master the basics of it, basically. So that
I believe that to be true.
You can execute that way.
I do believe that to be true. What Malcolm Gladwell said, 10,000 hours, right? If we use that as a rubric, certainly the men I know were way past 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of it becomes very natural. It's very natural.
When you mentioned earlier that you transitioned out to the agency, right? How hard was it for you to step off the train, as it were, that elite level, and then move on to something else, even if it was the agency side?
At first, I thought it was easy. I did. I really thought, I'm never doing this again. One of my favorite blues artists, I love the blues, electric blues and stuff like that. One of my favorite blues artists is Joe Bonamassa. He's a super, you never heard of him, huh?
No.
So he's the best guitar player you never heard of. He's got like 20 albums. He's got his own record label. He's not an Atlantic or RSO or almost. He's the man that beat the music industry. But he's got a song called Black Lung Heartache. And in Black Lung Heartache, he talks about a man he's a coalman up in the hills of West Virginia or wherever. It doesn't matter where it's the hills, the green hills. And he carries I carry my hammer like keys to a jail. That's one of the quotes. That's his job. That provides for his family. But he's a slave to it, right? My rifle, sort of the same way. You live your life this way. It's the keys to your own jail, but it's the jail that you've made yourself. And I thought, I'm never going to carry this thing again. I'm done with this crap. Liar. I lied to myself. I wanted to do the off-road business. I wanted to do something else. I tried a year selling armor, being an armorer, hang out with people, but not doing the thing. And then, I missed it a lot. I talked to a guy in the gym parking lot, and I was like, I really want to, I didn't do enough. I really don't think I did enough.
Damn, Dutch.
No, there's a poem, and I can't remember the name of the poem right now, but Johnny Kuhn wrote it at my retirement ceremony, and I think it's very apropos. You never think, I think there's a lot. I don't know if people really think they've done enough. I don't know. I have regrets of not doing more. I had numerous medical issues on the way, so I didn't do as much. Guys who were part of. You remember this op? You remember that? No, I wasn't there. Should have been, wasn't. I got communications from a guy in 2009, real lifetime chat, when I was at a desk because of a health issue. And he wrote, "I really wish you were here." I'm like, yeah, I want to be there too. I can't be. So always missed it. And then to fill some of the void, I took the job at GRS, and I did that. Pretty sure it's one of the most thankless, godless jobs. God's everywhere, so it's not godless, but it's a thankless job. Most people, have seen the movie 13 Hours. There's a lot like that. They don't particularly care for you. You're not one of them. You're just a dude. As a direct hire contractor, I probably had more maturity, certainly more leadership ability, and I was able to talk to them more one-on-one than say maybe the other guys. There was always complaints and stuff, and I'm like, you know what, you're indicting yourself here. if you don't have a good relationship with them, maybe we need to fix it. So let's go get a good relationship with them. But there was a lot of I don't cares, and it's not worth it. But I know some professionals are still there, and I love them dearly, and and they're still working this sphere, right? They're still somewhere on that arrowhead. They're doing great things for the nation, so that's still a good thing. I was able to break free from there. I did some class work. I did a lot of contracting with another company. I did a lot of subterranean work for a company, and it was awesome. One of the best times of my life was 2018. I think we did like 26 different brigade combat teams across the United States, Alaska, Hawaii. It was just absolutely phenomenal.
Doing what with them, Dutch?
So we did a series of subterranean type classes. CQB is CQB no matter where you go, whether it's above ground or below ground. But it was a series of it was a program that I'm not sure who put it together. I'm not sure if it was saber rattling from Mr. Trump to Kim Jong-il or whatever it was, but it was, hey, look, we can do this anytime we want. Anybody can do this. Because they did the first training event in Korea. I'm pretty sure that was for a reason.
All right.
Yeah, pretty sure that was for a reason. There was some leakage on either it was Army Times or something, because for a long time nobody was talking about it at all, and then there was a couple leakage somewhere. But really, it was just teaching men that this is a technique for this place, and it all came out of CQB anyway. Leadership, close quarter battle. I gave a speech on the actions of the German army at Ibn Amel, the fortress in Belgium. So many commissioned officers and non-commissioned officers would come up to us and just say, we're just blown away by the level of training, and it was just because it was all my tribe, my people. It was all our people. It wasn't my.
You were in the right place.
Yeah. It was just all these dudes come together and train these cats, and it was just a lot of fun. Train hard, go to the gym, have a couple drinks, do it again. Every day, every day was a new day.
Bullshit. And I like it.
Yeah, it was good. It was cathartic too. It was great.
Yeah.
Getting to see old mates from back in the day, new stories, laughs, whatever.
I'm very curious right now. Like, did you scratch the itch with that, with the GRS?
Oh yeah, 100%. It was awesome. And that's where, and then finally in 19, I went to Afghanistan one more time. And I liked what I did there too a lot. I liked that program. We're training the trainer of indigenous forces, and it was great. I really enjoyed it. And it was, when that was finished, that was, hey, that's when my 2IC, if you will, Dylan said, hey, I want to do this one more time. I'm like, oh man, I don't want to do this. So I gave it. So we're doing it.
I guess what I'm wondering is, it's easy for us to say like, hey, I didn't do enough there.
Especially when it's over.
When it's over. Like, looking back, I didn't do enough. But if one of your boys, like one of these people you would serve with alongside, came and said the same thing to you, like, man, Dutch, I don't think I did enough. I have a feeling you'd be like, yeah, you did. You did enough.
I probably would say, yeah, I did. But I also would say, I totally get it. I totally get it. We have to be able to compartmentalize it, though, for sure, right? Otherwise, it's going to drive you insane, and you won't be able to move on in regular life. But I still believe, if I watch Band of Brothers, I see 6, 7 things in Band of Brothers that happen to me in real life, just like that. And I'm like, I know that, and so it happened to them. It's nothing new under the sun, right? That's biblical. There's nothing new under the sun. So we just got to hold it, right? You just got to grip it, hold it, box it up, throw it in there, and leave it be. In this age of, we need to show our feelings and we need to do this. No, I think men probably need to box it up, shut the F up, box it up, be a man. This world is tough. It's hard world. Get it. I get it. Stick it in your rucksack and move on. Keep going. But no one's ever, I've had discussions about, regrets and discussions about hard times and regrets about, I wish I could have done something different. And we all, I think a lot of us Look, if we're honest with ourselves, I think a lot of us would say that. There was that one time, or there was this one year, this one season where I couldn't affect anything differently. When I woke up from the cancer table, and the first thing I said to Jason Hiles, I said, when can I put my kit back on? So what caused that? It's not the regret that I got cancer. It's the regret that I couldn't do much after that. And I had to make a decision, am I going to hang out with my daughter and my family, or am I going to, sacrifice even more? When I wrote my letter to say, I think I have to quit, my sergeant major at the time said, if you look back, you've done plenty. And that's cool. And I would say the same thing probably to any one of my subordinates. Yeah. But at the same time, I think that I would totally understand if my subordinate thought he didn't do it.
Yeah.
But again, you're going to have to deal with that in your way and get through it.
I just had interviewed, I don't know if you know this guy, Billy Billingham. He's British SAS. He was in for like 30 years.
I heard of his name.
Yeah. And he spent a ton of time post 9/11, very similar time frame, I think, to yours. And he was a sergeant major SAS. When he finished, he said, I was probably out for 2 weeks. I'm talking to the sergeant major that took over for me. We're good friends. And he's like, hey, we just went and hit this op. And Billy is like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm not there for it. Like just trying to detach from that lifestyle is hard.
There's a scene in Band of Brothers, Dick Winters, right? Captain Winters, he moves up. He gets after the crossroads, right? Colonel Sink wants him up at battalion. He's going to make him the XO.
Yeah. And
they have to he writes about the crossroads because he has to write the crossroads after extra review because he's late on that. And Moose Heiliger is going to take over Easy Company. And when Moose talks about freeing the British second para out of Arnhem, because they got to go across the river and they got to ferry them across because Operation Market Garden, shit the bed. And he's asking him, he's like, hey, did you do this? Hey, did you do this? Did you do this? Hey, check the men. And he's like, I got it, bro. I got it. And I could see the same thing,
Yep.
Like Billingham saying, his partner, whoever his buddy was, who was the guy in charge, I could see him going, hey, did you do pre-combat checks? Does everybody have this? Does everybody have that? I could see that. I'd do the same. I'd want to do the same thing, whether I would do it or not. That's a different story, but I would want to do the same thing. I'd want to ask, hey, are we good?
I love it.
Do you have all that? Do you have this done?
And I got to say, you mentioned Band of Brothers here again. Like I remember flying over Easy Company 101st in Afghanistan. We were covering, like they occupied an area just south the coast on the border, and we'd fly over them and we knew it was them. And I just like, how cool is it to be supporting a unit like that with that background? I just thought it was awesome. I hate the idea that Dick Winters was played by a British guy in real life, yes. But still, he did a great job. So that's all right.
I hope that units like James Dietz is an artist. He is. He does all kinds of great art, all kinds of great Army. I think he calls himself a historical representative or something like that, right? So he completely does all nonfiction. So he does so many paintings of 101st, 82nd Airborne of World War II. I hope that those young men, when they walk through command, and they'll just say, I got to go through the command, that they look at those paintings and they see what these men did before them, because that's the Red Devils and baggy pants, it's the Screaming Eagle, it's what they did at in Carentan and at the gun emplacement, Brecourt Manor. What Winters did at the Brecourt Manor and what those men did, you find some pride here. Look at this. This is hard work. This is really hard work. And I hope that every man sees that. They won't. They don't. I am less than excited about some of these new men, but it's again though, it's up to us. I told everybody when I did that speech on Monday on resilience, I said, listen, it's up to you. It's up to you to create the culture that make these men passionate and women about what they do. So it's going to take some time and it's going to take sacrifice because you're going to be away from your family. You're going to work your 60-hour week and you're going to say, I don't want to do that, but you're going to have to. There's so many examples. We had a great first sergeant and when I was in 175, and I remember a time we jumped in to Taylor's Creek, DC. It might have been Taylor's Creek. We walked 25 miles. The 25-mile road march. Before the 25-mile road march was over, we got a frag-up. And we had to come over here at I don't know, objective rally point, whatever it was. And then it was everybody got new orders. Now we have to assault. We had to assault the place. So now we have to take off our packs, weapons and ammo only kind of thing, just like three-corps manner. Now we have to come up with a plan to assault this position. And we're all smoked, man. Everybody's smoked. But you assaulted the position when it was over and we defeated the enemy. 5-ton trailer backs up, or 5-ton truck backs up with full of pallets, bonfire. Another 5-ton backs up and it's food. It's just breakfast.
Awesome.
It's Army breakfast.
Yeah.
But and then then he says, come around. This is what you did. This is what you need to do. Have an after-action review. Have a great time. Have some coffee. Have some breakfast. Hey, doc, check their feet. Get reward, hard work, reward. It's build that culture where hard work is normal, and then be rewarded by it. So I hope that's happening, but
No,
I don't know what it's like right now in 82nd Airborne, 101st Airborne. Pat McCauley and I went to Bastogne, and there's a big memorial there at Bastogne. And if you haven't been there, or anybody who's listening,
it's great.
It's an amazing place, right? So you could see where Easy Company was, and we went there. We by foot went there where Easy Company was, and you could clearly see the lines because the Germans made trenches, Americans made foxholes, and you could clearly see right over there with trenches, right over here with foxholes. They're still there, And so we drank some whiskey, poured some whiskey on the ground, and it just, amazing moments, man. But there's no way I could have done those moments if I didn't work hard and then get to the level I was. And I was very, very fortunate. I often, you say the imposter syndrome. I don't know if it was an imposter I felt like, but oftentimes I was like, oh, God bless. I'm barely hanging on. It's at medical school, right? When you pass, what do you call it? Doctor.
You're still a doctor.
You might be the last guy, right? But you're still a doctor.
You're still an operator.
And I was there, but I was like, man, I did some good things, but I'm sure that there were. I'll never forget. There was amazing men that were much better than I was.
I remember Bob Keller on here. He said, you get to that level and you can't even get a shot on a target because people are so quick. Like
they were so fast.
You got to be on your game to just get a shot in.
You thought you were cool. You thought you were hot at OTC, right? You thought, you did a lot of CQB, right? But you go across the hall, you're like, holy crap, they're fast. They're fast in here. And when some team leader gives you a compliment, you're like, yeah, I feel good. Yeah.
I feel like $1 million.
Yeah, I feel like $1 million, man. I was switched on and things are good.
So Dutch, I got two main questions I ask everybody, but I also want to talk about DCM real quick. So you're doing private classes, you're doing work with different organizations, obviously. Where do you see it going? Just so people can tap into it. We'll have links to find it, but like, how do you talk about it to folks?
So I am DCM. I am Dutch Chris Moyer Consulting. We do rifle, pistol, close quarter battle, canine integration, everything under the banner of leadership, and through the what I call the evolutionary gunfighter process. If you know a little bit, the gunfighter awakens is probably for you. If you know more, evolutionary gunfighter is the middle piece, and then the time of the gunfighter is the I know plenty. So when you come to a time of the gunfighter class, I'm going to set up this portion of the range for this drill, that drill, this drill. We're going to work with cars, that drill, this drill, and then it's going to be pay one price, ride all day for free. Go have fun, and then come to me if there's an issue with something. And it's not, it's just the more much more advanced, than you just go ahead and just have some fun on this. Just my philosophies are it's tactically minded, and leadership is everything to me. I want to have a good time though too, right? We have a good time. And at the end, of course, the cigars and whiskey you enjoy, I certainly do too, and that's what we'll do. Most of my classes are 2 days. We do a Leo development course every quarter. It's 1 day, and it's really inexpensive for law enforcement and military folks to do. We're DCMconsulting.com, DutchChrisMoyer.com. It's DutchChrisMoyer.com online.
We'll have it in the description so people
Dutch Chris Moyer actual on the IG. My buddy does the Facebook portion. I do the IG. So, for the most part, just try to have fun and be a patriotic American. But we do open enrollment. So yes, there is a calendar on there that does open enrollment classes. And so you can find yourself signing up there.
So the two questions I try to ask everybody, Dutch, one is, when you were in combat, was there anything that you carried with you that had like sentimental value, something that somebody gave you that you wanted to have on you?
Yeah, sometimes whether it's pictures of family or whether it's Team America came out, the movie, we had Team America patches.
Yep.
A lot of guys from New Haven and some other New York police guys. We used to wear their patches in combat. So not much more than that though.
Yep.
Something sentimental about hats or hats that fit well. You always wanted to, keep it. Pieces of equipment that you think that, but nothing like a lucky rabbit's foot or nothing like that.
Yeah.
No.
And the last question, I think I know the answer to this, but you spent a lot of time at the top and just a lot of time in general in uniform and in some hairy situations. Would you go back and do that again, knowing what
100%.
you know now?
100%. That's horrible, right? Yes. So I've had, again, because of my career, I've had great opportunities. I had a contract in Saudi Arabia. I'll never do that again. I had a contract in Kuwait. I might. I had a contract in Poland. I would do that again in a heartbeat. Poland, Slovakia. I have a chance to do some work in Romania here coming up, and I'm probably going to take it. Africa, not as exciting as
it's not as enticing.
Not as enticing as Beirut, perhaps. I've done Beirut. I've done Erbil. I've been to Slovenia again since the war's been over, and Erbil. I'd do it. Yeah, I'd do it again. There are times, Ryan. There are times when I think that I could do this no problem, and then you probably need to think about it and say, "Well, I'm 57. I'll be 58 here in September." So we trained 30 dudes in Kentucky, for instance, right? Give or take 30. There's a little less than 30, I think. And I did a pistol portion and a rifle portion. We mainly did pistol because pistol's the hardest platform to shoot from. But after every one of these iterations, I want to do a culmination shoot. So I'll try to put together a culmination shoot of all the stuff we learned today, plus maybe something they didn't learn. So it'll be a surprise. But I'll incorporate the timer and I'll incorporate a heart rate. So day 1, day 2, day 3, only one man beat my time and my accuracy, and he was 28 years old. And so I'm okay with that. I can stand on that. And there's some really good shooters in there. So I'm very happy that I was only bested by one young man who was 20 years my senior or my junior. Easy 20 years. More than that. Shit, almost 30 years my junior.
Yeah.
So,
jeez.
But he smoked me.
I recently interviewed Lisa Jaster, who's the third woman to complete Ranger School. She went through at 37 years old. And so I was just like, more power to you for getting through that thing at that age. Just, I don't have that in me.
Why is it in you?
Oh my God. At 37, I don't know. I just hear grueling stories about that.
I wish I was 37 again, right?
Yeah, I hear you. There's one question I forgot to ask you, because when you and I were connecting, and you've alluded to it here, Shrek, our audience loves that guy. You had mentioned that you two had served some time together. I'm just curious if any stories come to mind, any ops or experiences together that you recall.
No ops. We served together in 175 and we worked together. And then he got there first, and then I showed up later, and we weren't in the same tribe together, so we didn't do stuff together. One cool story, and then I did a podcast with him on his program, and we talked about this thing. At the end of training, you do a hand-to-hand combat Lollapalooza, if you will. And I'm looking for Mr. Goodbar, motherfucker. That's what you would say.
You told me about this, yeah.
So, and he was one of the guys that you had to fight against because he was a pretty damn good fighter, right? So you had different techniques that you learned throughout, and then you had to put these things into action. And so it was a practical exercise of all these things, and you were smoked. By the time it was over, you were smoked because you're leaving one room. You're fighting some people in one room. You're running up the stairs to another room. You're fighting somebody else, running up again, fight somebody else, run down, fight somebody else. And then there's one room, right? There's like 10 people in there. You're like, oh my gosh, I don't know. We just got to do it, right? And but he was in a room by himself, and you walk in there and you just announce yourself. I'm looking for Mr. Goldman, motherfucker. And it's not him. It's it's a fictional person. You never find him, obviously. It just offends everyone that you meet, and we struggled together when we fought. And we talked about it on his podcast, and I did okay. And he talks about it, and that was one of the cool times.
Love it.
But I hope to see him. We talked about it on his podcast, and I hope to see him for his culmination. So him and Keller both do like a culmination thing at the end of the year and Pat does too, actually, for their Patreon type members, for their insiders. And I think that's really cool, especially. So Jimmy does it, Tier 1 Eagle, Keller, and Shrek, they do an event. So you smoke yourself, and then you have fun. And then Pat just has an all culmination thing, and they have fun too. But I don't think there's anything really under duress. But so I hope to see
out for Shreks.
I'm gonna. Nice. He invited me out, so I hope to come out there for him and hang out. So
awesome.
That'd be fun. And maybe someday we'll have one. I don't know.
Yeah,
probably not. I'm so far, dude. Again, I do everything late in my life. I'm so far behind the power curve. All my peers have been doing this for 10 years. I just pretty much started again. So,
no, I appreciate you coming on, Dutch. I think people are going to love this, the discussion, the insight, the experiences. There's just so few people who've been at that level and done it for so long. So thank you for sharing this with us.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, everything. I have a lot of fun. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I hope you enjoyed this combat story. Now on to some listener comments. Our first one is an Apple 5-star review from Slet10. It says, very entertaining. This former Intel weenie is living vicariously through all of these awesome stories. Keep up the great work, and thanks for what you do. And hey, there's another Intel weenie here who's telling these stories with you. So I know exactly what you mean. Thank you for leaving that. And especially on Apple, getting a 5-star review there helps get the word out on this podcast. So thanks very much for doing that. The next comment is a YouTube comment on the Chris Tonto Peranto interview from 7.3. It says, I love getting the whole story. I know the badass he is. It's nice to hear the bad with the good. What a badass guy and a great interview. Yeah, we do try to dig into some of the less positive or more difficult things that people came up against in almost every interview, because I think it's very easy for us on the outside looking in to say, oh, geez, this person, served at the tip of the spear, whether it was Tonto or Shrek or whoever else, and has never had any hard times. And in reality, we're all in that same boat where we're struggling quite often. And I think this interview did a great job of highlighting that as well with Dutch. So thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. If you want to hear more of my thoughts on these interviews, you can head over to our Patreon account at www.patreon.com/combatstory. And we also just rolled out some new merch on our store site. So that's at bonfire.com/store/combatstory. So we've got some kind of like subdued colors, low vis is what I call them, low vis tactical shirts and hoodies. So head on over there. You can see a couple different options. Hope you like them. Thanks for all your support, everyone, and thank you for listening. Stay safe, y'all.